I therefore declare Hichilema Hakainde S. to be President-elect.
Guys, have you been seeing what is happening in Zambia? Because honestly, this election is giving us a lot to talk about. So Zambia has just re-elected President Hakainde Hichilema for another term. And on the surface, you might think, okay, president wins election, congratulations, everybody goes home. But no, there's actually more to this story. Hichilema reportedly won about 60% of the vote, which means he has secured another term in office, and his supporters are celebrating this as a vote of confidence in what his government has been doing, especially when it comes to Zambia's economy and its debt crisis. But here is where things get interesting. The election wasn't exactly smooth. There were reports of violence at some polling stations, and at one point, vote counting was temporarily suspended. There were also reports of ballot papers being stolen. And then things got even more serious. Several opposition figures were arrested during a raid, with authorities accusing them of being connected to an alleged armed insurrection plot. But the opposition has denied those accusations. And this is why people are already asking questions about what exactly is happening to democracy in Zambia.
I therefore declare Hichilema Hakainde S. to be President-elect. Hello? Can I finish? To be President-elect of the Republic of Zambia this 18th day of August 2026.
Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema is on course to retain his seat as the declared election results show that he has taken a steady lead ahead of the main rival, Brian Mundubile. The Electoral Commission of Zambia gave an update on Sunday, August 16, 2026, announcing that President Hichilema had secured more than 1 million votes in nearly half of the declared constituencies. His main challenger, Mundubile, had garnered nearly 831,000 votes to take the second spot as of the time when results from 105 out of 226 constituencies had been announced. President Hichilema's tally translated to nearly 55% of the vote, a figure that would guarantee him a first-round victory without the need for a runoff. Mundubile's tally translated to 43% of the vote. These figures are bound to change as the Electoral Commission processes results from the remaining constituencies. The presidential election held alongside parliamentary and local elections on August 13, 2026, is seen as a test of whether the economic gains of Hichilema's administration are enough to secure him another term. Zambia's Electoral Commission temporarily stopped vote counting on Friday, August 14, citing physical attacks against officials and the theft of ballot papers. Police have denied a report by opposition leader Mundumbile's camp that the 55-year-old presidential candidate was arrested and detained. According to Zambia's constitution, if no presidential candidate gets at least 50% plus one of the votes cast, a second round of voting must take place within 37 days of the initial poll. 64-year-old Hichilema of the United Party for National Development, UPND, is seeking his second and final term as president. He came to power in August 2021, getting over 2.8 million votes, or 57.5% of the ballot cast. In that year's election, he defeated the incumbent President Edgar Lungu by a margin of nearly 1 million votes. Under President Hichilema's leadership, Zambia has managed to restore fiscal sustainability by restructuring roughly 94% of its external debt, improve the national economic growth to around 5% annually, and stabilize the kwacha against the US dollar and other major currencies. Hichilema's government has also seen an increased enrollment of learners by 2.3 million after introducing free primary and secondary education in 2022, expanded healthcare by hiring more than 20,000 health workers, and secured more than $10 billion of investment in Zambia's mining sector since 2021. The president's opponents, however, say that the mentioned gains have not translated into equally strong improvements in people's living standards, highlighting cost of living, unemployment, and electricity shortages as some of the major concerns. Hichilema's opponent, Brian Mundubile, a lawyer and accountant, first entered parliament in 2016 as the Patriotic Front PF Member of Parliament of Mporokoso in Zambia's northern province and was re-elected in 2021. Under President Lungu, he served as Minister for Northern Province and later as Government Chief Whip. After PF's defeat in 2021, Mundubile became opposition leader in parliament but lost the position in November 2023 amid party divisions. He later emerged as a major opposition figure and was selected as the 2026 presidential candidate for the Tonse Pamodzi Alliance with Makebi Zulu as his running mate. Zulu is the lawyer and spokesperson for the Lungu family.
Supporters of Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema have taken to the streets of Lusaka after election results showed he had won a second term. Hichilema got his victory with about 60% of the vote.
President Hakainde Hichilema supporters celebrated through the early hours in Zambia's capital after the Electoral Commission announced his re-election. Hichilema defeated his main challenger Brian Mundubile, who received about 38% of valid votes. Hichilema, who first won office in 2021, campaigned on his economic record and the recovery from Zambia's pandemic-era debt crisis.
HH must continue, must rule us. He is the president for all Zambia. So those who are saying they will police him, no, there is nothing about policing him. HH has managed to bring this country where it's supposed to be.
Supporters say they have seen improvements during Hichilema's first 5 years in office and believe he deserves another term.
I've seen something in 5 years, what he has done for last Zambian people. He's not doing it for himself, but as a leader. So now we have given him another 5 years. That's why I'm here to celebrate his excellence.
Hichilema's second term will focus on building on economic gains while addressing concerns over whether those improvements have reached ordinary Zambians.
With the economy having been repaired over the previous 5 years, we now must move together, work hard, not look back, and ensure that we are able to get the most of being Zambian. One Zambia, one nation.
Hichilema's victory gives him another 5 years to deliver on his economic promises while his government faces pressure to translate broader gains into improved living standards.
Well, following those celebrations and the declaration by the ECZ, NRPUP leader Brian Mundubile has rejected the results of Zambia's 2026 presidential election announced today by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. In a statement, Mr. Mundubile said the NRPUP had documented alleged discrepancies involving ballot security, the transportation and handling of electoral materials, and differences between figures recorded at polling stations and those later announced. He says the NRPUP will submit its evidence to the relevant legal institutions within the prescribed period. Mr. Mundubile also rejected allegations linking the party to an alleged insurgency. He insisted the NRPUP remains committed to peace and democratic participation. The NRPUP leader further called for immediate clarification on the detention of his campaign manager, Davis Chisopa. He also raised concern over the whereabouts of former Luta MP Mutotwa Kafwaya, whom he alleges was shot during a police raid at his residence in Kablonga. Authorities arrested 11 people there in connection with what they termed foreign militias that threatened national security.
Now, on one hand, Hichilema is coming back for another term, and supporters are saying, look, the people have spoken. But on the other hand, critics are raising concerns about opposition crackdowns, political freedoms, and the fact that many ordinary Zambians are still struggling with the cost of living. So now I'm curious, do you think this election is a genuine vote of confidence in Hichilema? Or do you think there are some serious questions that Zambia still needs to answer? Because honestly, this is one of those African political stories that I feel we are still going to be hearing a lot more about. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in my next one.